Okay, so it's about 1:30 time now, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you just joined us, thanks so much for attending the webinar today. It's the first time we've done a webinar on this topic. Um, if you are new with us, check out the GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. That's where you can ask some questions to me. We'll leave a pretty big space today for answering questions, so feel free to ask as many questions as you like. Um, to give you guys a little bit of background about who's putting on this webinar and who I am, you can check out subscriptionschool.com. This is a website I operate through a company called Crachoy, and it's just basically a free resource about subscription businesses. So a lot of this is centered around a subscription box experience, which we'll talk about today. Um, but if you are looking for some more resources, or if you have to duck out early or something like that, feel free to come back here. You can find all the same information, and also you'll be able to find this webinar. It is being recorded. Also, if you are interested in kind of learning a little bit more about this business model and seeing if it works, or some different strategies and things that you can do, head over to the webinar section, and there's a calendar that lists out all the different webinars that we do here at Subscription School. So we usually do about 8 or so a month, and they're totally free, and so you can just kind of come to this webinar panel here, and you can just sign up for whatever you'd like. Otherwise, the guides are also, everything on the site's totally free for you to use. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's get started. So today, we're going to be talking about turning your handmade products into recurring revenue. So some of you may or may not be familiar with subscription commerce. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with an overview of what is subscription commerce. Why does it work with handmade products? How can you create a product offering from the products that you have currently as a maker? And then kind of understanding a little bit more about the logistics and kind of the monthly rhythm of this type of company, and then also some more free resources to help. A little bit about me. That's me on the left-hand side there, looking very serious. But some of the things that I've worked on in the past, you can see here, Prosperly is a business that I operate right now. Part of the idea I had behind this webinar is because at Prosperly, and I can show you guys real quick, I work with so many different people who are making small batch artisan goods and stuff like that. That's what kind of inspired me to kind of think about this idea and how you guys could create a box that's kind of your own set of product offerings, because I specialize kind of in the niche of small batch handmade goods. And so that's what I do currently. Before this, I also worked at a company called Conscious Box. I was a founder there. It's a natural product subscription box. Kind of discover the best of the planet every single month. I also had a couple other subscription companies I ran, an online health and wellness blog called Organic Soul. And then today I work with Crachoy at Subscription School, while also running that business prosperly. So if you're interested in learning more about me, you can Google me or go to my website or something. So I kind of want to start this off with a quote that I think is important for us as subscription commerce kind of pioneers, and us thinking about using our products on a recurring basis, and why this type of thing works. And so this quote is, do what you do so well so they will want to see it again and bring their friends. This is, I think Walt Disney said this quote, but the idea of this quote is really interesting to me because it kind of immediately makes you think about that aspect of sharing. And a lot of people and a lot of business owners kind of downplay word of mouth because it's kind of hard to quantify the value from that. But word of mouth and referrals are one of the biggest ways companies grow. And when we think about this in terms of our products that we're making, or in terms of a service that's delivering our products on a monthly basis, kind of coming at it from this perspective, kind of helps you kind of see how a recurring revenue product experience is really possible, especially because people do want to see things that they love over and over again, and even better, they want to tell their friends about it. So I see we got a couple more people who just joined us. Just to let you guys know too, since I haven't seen any come in yet, on the right hand side of your GoToWebinar control panel there on your screen, there's a little questions box where you can ask some questions to me. And while you're kind of thinking about some questions you might want to ask me, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question right now. So my first question, it has to do with your familiarity with subscription boxes. So I talk to a lot of different kind of makers and people who create products every day, and some people have heard of it and some people haven't. So I'm always kind of interested to see where everybody's at on subscription boxes. It's kind of a new thing. And then I'll go ahead and share these results with you too, so you can see kind of what everybody else here is familiar with. So let me go ahead and close this poll, show the results. So it looks like everybody's heard of them. They've seen them before. Some people have even subscribed to some boxes. Oh, some people have been featured in boxes. That's really cool. Um, uh, that's a good experience. You're probably really familiar with the product experience at that point. Um, that's good to know. So going into part one, what is it and why is it interesting for you? This should be basically, it should probably be pretty well understood by all of you guys right now. So here's some examples of subscription boxes. There's everything from this top row of top three, where it's like all people, kind of bigger products, bigger brands, the curation experience, around a couple different things, whether it's vitamins, supplements, or, Birchbox is kind of a big box that everybody's heard of. On the bottom two in the bottom left is are two boxes. I think it's called Handmade Beauty Box, and the other one's Handmade Cartel. These two boxes right here are boxes that have their own products. And so they make the products that they put inside their subscription boxes. And the bottom right, that's the business I just mentioned, Prosperly. And you can kind of see some of the, there's like a couple companies in here, Urban Organics, this tea, or this candle company. These are just handmade products that I got from local businesses here in Portland, Oregon. So this is the whole subscription box thing, but like as you guys mentioned, you have an understanding of it. So in terms of subscription commerce, why is it different than the normal business you guys are already doing on a daily basis? Subscription businesses are fundamentally pretty simple. It's just the rhythm of customers paying for a fee, maybe on a monthly, quarterly, or an annual basis, subscribing to something and receiving it, and then going through the process of renewing on a recurring schedule of maybe every 30 days, or maybe it's a quarterly box, or whatever it may be. At the end of that life cycle, you have the cancellation. And so the way I like to kind of frame this in my mind, in contrast to traditional e-commerce, is, replace the word subscribe with checkout, and then remove renew and remove cancel, and just, engage, checkout, receive, and that's it. In order for them to start the process back over again, they've got to go re-engage with your brand, whether that's by um, coming to your storefront, or finding your website again, or something like that. So this life cycle is pretty different in the sense that it's got this repetitive motion around rebilling and collecting money at a checkout, and that recurring kind of product experience was set on a specific schedule. So it's not necessarily orders are going out every single day. It's once a month people are expecting to receive a box. So why this works with handmade products, in my opinion, is there's kind of these five big reasons for it. The first one I call the niche necessity, or the niche necessity, depending on how you pronounce it. The niche necessity is basically, a good subscription business, or heck, any business, is going to be, really define its success by defining itself. A good business needs to be able to, in a few short words, tell people what it's about, tell people about the ethos of that company, and tell people about why it's interesting and why it's compelling and why they should become patrons of it. And so subscription businesses really, really rely on this because of the whole nature of a recurring rebilling scenario. Someone who's going to opt into that is they're going to want to feel like that they're making a smart decision. They don't want to, as a shopper, we're all shoppers too. Who wants to sign up for something on a renewing basis? It sounds scary. It's like, those are my least favorite bills, are my phone bill and my, cable bill, and these renewing bills that I have to worry about every single month. And so when you think about that, and the importance of having a niche, it worked with your handmade products because you've already got a niche. By the nature of your product, you already know yours, and maybe there's some cool special things about your product that you do extra that kind of sets you apart from other handmade products. But by virtue of you being an artisan and you making something on your own, you've got yourself a niche right there. And that's something that you can easily communicate to customers. And that I think personally, it might be because I really like these types of products, but I think it's a very compelling product offering. There are a lot of subscription boxes that are focused on more kind of mass-produced goods. I would say the vast majority of subscription boxes, use products that they source from big businesses or medium-sized businesses. There are very few businesses that use purely handmade, purely local products, or stuff that's made by people at a much smaller scale. Small batch subscription boxes aren't nearly as numerous as other subscription box models. So you've got that awesome niche already. Another reason why is because it's going to be complementing your operations. I mean, you are already tackling the incredible and difficult feat of creating a product and organizing ingredients and worrying about temperatures and molds and stuff like that. And when you think about that in terms of a subscription, in terms of adding in a subscription box to that, really not much is adding to your workflow besides, just dealing with that one big shipment once a month. You're already, throughout the month, you're already fulfilling boxes, putting in maybe in UPS mailers or something like that. But with this, it's just a big, one big operation, maybe a week or two, a couple weeks before, maybe depending on what you're making. And then just setting yourself down and dedicating yourself to one day of just packing out boxes and fulfilling orders all day. Um, so it complements the operation because really not much is added to your workflow. There's a couple of new stuff that you might do with your website or something like that, and some work around there. But besides that, I mean, it's really going to complement what you're already doing. Um, Another reason why is because you can do both. I think it's really interesting that there are not more businesses in the subscription commerce space um, that are selling their own products and one-time purchases. I mean, some of the big companies are. So, for example, Birchbox, uh, Harry's razors. I think you can buy NatureBox snacks through the NatureBox website. But there are actually very few subscription businesses that kind of build both an e-commerce a stream of revenue and a subscription stream of revenue in both businesses. And you've already, and you can see this next point too, is you've already got that stuff. You've already got an existing stream of revenue. You have an existing business, and you're actually, you're leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of other people who want to start these businesses because you've got that brand and you've got that following and you've got your brand assets. Whether it's pictures or a nice website, whatever it is, you've got a you could easily implement something like this, and you're at a really good starting point for launching something like this. And the other reason why I think this is really cool with Handmade products is it offers you guys a really unique channel to engage with new customers and your current customers, and just do some really fun stuff with your brands. I mean, what I like to do with the kind of the local artisan products I work with. Is I'm always like, hey, you know what? You want to do something special? Like, let's do some product testing. Just this last month for my February box at Prosperly, we I worked with this company, Nature Skin Nutrition. She's a company here in Oregon, and she had this like ancient bath milk that she was making, and I was like, well, what can we do to kind of like spicing it up a little bit? Let's give customers like a really cool, kind of a new like unique product experience. So we use some different organic ingredients. We use some different herbs in the bath milk. She kind of got a special glass bottle for it, and so throughout this month, what I'm going to be doing is gathering as much feedback as I can from my customers, and then passing that back to her so she can see what people think about this new product she made. I mean, it was based off a product she was already selling, but she was able to try some new things with it that gave her some kind of creative leeway. And with a channel like this, you get a little bit more of that creative leeway because sometimes subscribers aren't just looking for that product; they're looking for that surprise. And so I think that's really interesting. So some perks of adding recurring revenue to your business through a subscription is number one is stability. So one of the biggest things I like to kind of trumpet about this business model is the stability of recurring revenue. Um, so before to give you some color on this, before I mentioned a couple slides ago, one of the things I worked on before was called Organic Soul. It was a health and wellness, um, natural lifestyle publication. And what I was trying to do there was monetize content. So I was trying to kind of build an online magazine. It was extremely difficult, and it was extremely difficult to predict. Ultimately, that business got turned into another business. We had to pivot away from that model because it was too difficult to really kind of build a business around that, or it just took a lot more time and energy than we had available to us. Similarly, when I was doing Conscious Box, which became a very large business, we were doing one-time sales as a part of that business as well. We had a whole marketplace associated with it where you could go buy the natural products you love. But when we look at purchasing around that, and when we look at how we were able to influence customers' decisions around purchasing one-time sales, it was much more difficult to find stability, and even in that, even with tens and thousands of subscribers, because that's just kind of how online e-commerce is. I mean, there isn't a lot of prediction that you can put into your products all the time. So with subscription commerce, I mean, you get that automatic stability because you know that people are going to be renewing on a monthly basis or whatever basis you have set up. Um, you've got some things to worry about, which we'll talk about later in terms of how your stability is affected. But um, by and large, the stability and the predictability of subscription commerce really outpaces a lot of different businesses. Um, Also, I mean, by adding a subscription element to your business, you can create some more demand for yourself. So let's say you take your 50 normal customers and they all of a sudden go to your subscription box, and you're still getting other sales through your website, or you're attracting new people because you have a new product. Um, by having that recurring basis and getting your regular customers on a renewing plan versus kind of just hoping them to kind of recheck out every once in a while, you're increasing your own demand, and that's going to help you with purchasing. So build for purchasing ingredients, for purchasing tools you need to make your products. By generating yourself a consistent few hundred sales a month, you become a much stronger purchaser, especially if you have ongoing relationships with specific product and ingredient companies. It makes it much easier to pitch yourself and say, hey, I'm going to be doing 200 orders of this type of product every single month. I'm going to need this better deal on this specific type of ingredient or beeswax or something like that. So better purchasing power, I mean, that's huge. Also, I think from the few businesses I've talked to who have done this, it seems like it adds a lot of focus in the workshop. I mean, it gets you on a schedule. You know that on the 20th of each month, you've got to get those 100 soaps created. Um, it'll it lets you kind of iterate on your favorite products. I mean, by doing 100 products in your workshop, I mean, going through those steps 100 times, especially if you're just now launching your business, you're going to get much better at creating those products, and that's going to mean better customer experience. That can mean saved time and saved money. Um, and it can be new ideas. I mean, the amount of creativity you get from just working through creating products is a ton. Also, it's not going to be like a total scatter play when you do this. I think I always encourage people to set up an assembly line, get yourself a step-by-step thing where you can really see from the creation of your product to putting it inside the box, and by doing that, that can add a lot of focus too. Um, no, another perk is huge brand awareness. Okay, so there's a big, big, big community of subscription box followers and fans. It's this subscription box mom, subscription box reviewer, subscription box addict. My favorite subscription boxes community of people, and those are all blogs I mentioned. Uh, Community of people that just love the idea of subscription boxes. I mean, there's a chance that your customer profile kind of includes these types of people already, but it's about this specific element of surprise and this specific element of unboxing something that's really created a very unique community online. And it's a big new audience that you can tap into that you might not have been as easily able to tap into if you were just selling one-off handmade products. Um, to give you a sense, kind of one of the biggest websites, mysubscriptionaddiction.com, and let me just pull this up so you guys can see it. So it's called My Subscription Addiction. She's one of the biggest bloggers. Her name is Liz, around subscription boxes, and this includes subscription boxes of all types here. From Birchbox to things like called My Texas Market, which is kind of like an artisan handmade subscription box, to Tinker Crate, a crate for gaming with kids. So she reviews everything. She gets billions of people who come to this website a month, and from the few reviews I've done with her, she pushes consistent, subscribers to me every single month. And so by getting yourself involved in this community, because everybody who's in this kind of niche reviewing, they want to review every single box possible. So by emailing them and say, hey, I have a new box. This is the new box. Check it out. You're going to get yourself exposed to a much, much bigger, much broader community of people who I think will be really interested in this type of product. Overwhelmingly, people in the subscription box niche seem to prefer uh, uh, kind of the more luxurious aspect of finding really cool brands. I feel like discovery is a really big element of subscription commerce. And so kind of you coming out with your own products and kind of creating new things each month, I think this community would be really open and what's the word I'm looking for? I guess enthusiastic. I mean, about just discovering a brand like yours. So huge community of subscription box followers and fans for you to consider. So this was the what and the why. Um, so you might wonder now, like, how can you actually get started with this? I mean, what does it actually look like to create this business? Um, and so step one, I can encourage you to investigate a platform for it. I mean, chances are you can't use what you're currently using to operate a subscription business um, through your Handmade kind of web shop or whatever it is you're using. There are things you can do, like if you're using WordPress, you could use Shopify or Chargeify. You could use like a WooCommerce plugin. There's different things that you can do to have recurring billing. And I mean, that's the real thing that you got to understand when you're looking for a platform. You need to find something that lets you rebuild people on a set schedule, and so you don't get confused about when you're renewing people, and you can understand when your batches are happening. So the one I suggest is Cratejoy. I mean, that's the company that supports subscriptionschool.com. So a little bit biased feedback here, but I've worked with. I have one company right now that I've operated on Cratejoy. The other 3 or 4 businesses that I've started personally that were my own businesses, I've never used Cratejoy before that. I used everything from Magento, a custom Magento site and a custom Magento store, to WordPress and Chargeify, which was probably my second favorite, would be using WordPress and Chargeify, to a static site using PayPal, and have to manually collect records and manually do rebilling, to an unbound site. I mean, I've built websites, subscription businesses on everything probably imaginable, and I think that the best one out there that is currently Cratejoy, and that's why I actually work with Cratejoy, is because being an entrepreneur in this space for so long, I think what the product they've actually created is actually a pretty good one. It lets you track rebilling, shipping, one-time orders, all this different stuff. So I was just check out the platform. You can get a free trial at Cratejoy if you'd like. It's really easy to extend your trial. You don't have to sign up with a credit card. There's like no risk associated with it. I always hate when people say there's a no risk guarantee, but with this there really is. Also, there's a lot of other cool stuff you can watch about Cratejoy online at Subscription School or on their Facebook, and it's all just free stuff. So it's you can kind of learn about this platform without having to spend any dollars on it. But so step one, getting started, I'd say try to find a platform that you think is interesting and compelling to you. Get in a platform, whichever one you choose. Start to click some buttons, and kind of get a sense of how the platform itself is going to work. I think the number one thing that would scare me if I was in your shoes is you're like, well, come on, Jesse, I just built a Squarespace store, or I just built a really beautiful Etsy store. The last thing I want to do is go rebuild a website. So I would look for something that's going to be easy for you to put up 1 or 2 pages. It's the home page, it's the checkout page, it's the account page, and it's just something that you kind of list in your current website, and you can push people to, and you can use in tandem with what you're already doing. Later on, if you start to see your subscription business really pick up, you could always go to one of these platforms and then build out your big, beautiful store, or migrate over the stuff you have, um, and then make that your number one website. But early on, I would say look for something that is going to provide you a quick solutions, just so you can test the idea. It shouldn't take you more than a day or two to create this web page, whether it's through, Unbounce, or whether it's through Cratejoy or something like that. So step two, you got to think about your product offering. And so this is what I think is really interesting, and I think is going to be honestly unique for every single person in this webinar. And actually, before I go into this, let me ask you guys another question. I'm interested. Let me pull it up here. How many orders are you guys currently fulfilling? And what would have been a great great question for you guys too, is what types of products I could have generated some ideas for you guys. But let me know how many orders you guys actually fulfill a month, and this will kind of give me a good sense of how to kind of frame this next couple slides here. Um, Also, it looks like we do got some questions coming in here. Feel free, to uh, ask as many questions as you like on the right-hand side panel, whether it's about subscription boxes or whether it's about product sourcing or anything like that, anything that you think I might be able to help you with. I'm happy to go into as much detail today as we can, and spend the next 25 minutes or so after we get done with these next 3 or 4 slides just answering questions about type of product. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this poll now. This is the quick poll. So how many orders do you fulfill a month? It looks like most people either haven't started yet or just selling. They're selling a few. It looks like we have a couple, bigger people who are, actually going through some serious products, which is great. So I'll hide these from you. And just while I have this, have you guys have your attention, let me ask you another question. How do you sell most of your products? I'm kind of interested to see. Because I kind of went to a couple different communities to try to find some attendees for the webinar, and I'm interested to see like where are you guys selling? Is it on Etsy? Is it on your own website? Do you have a storefront? Um, and it looks like here, it looks like most people are selling it from their own website. It looks like about 20% of you are selling on Etsy. Some of you are selling somewhere else. Um, for those of you who chose other in that poll right there, if you could just leave in the question box, can you just tell me where that was? Because I'd be interested to find out, like, if it wasn't Etsy, your own website, a wholesale, or through a storefront, was it like just through oh, okay, someone here just mentioned Amazon. Okay, cool. Okay, so that was useful. So I'm gonna go through. I see some more questions coming in here too, and that's awesome. Thank you guys for asking some more questions. I'm excited to chat a little bit more about your specific questions and not just cover the slideshow here. But let me go through the next couple slides, and then we'll jump into these questions that you guys are asking here. Okay, so step two here, we talked about getting a platform. Step two is thinking about a product offering. And so I like to think of subscription box businesses being able to do one of two things. It's either like a replenishment subscription, so it's like stuff with stuff that people need. Maybe it's like shaving soap or I guess people need regular soap too. So maybe it's like a soap subscription. And it's kind of like just a replenishment thing. Or are you going to build a product offering like around a curated discovery experience? And I mean, you could blend these two together for sure, where you maybe have a replenishment subscription, but there's also one product that's new every single month. Or it's a replenishment subscription that is a new scent or some type of new medium. So, and there's a couple different ways I think to have shaving gels and shaving soaps and shaving creams and shaving, etc. So maybe there's like a way you have a replenishment subscription, but also be using a discovery kind of curated experience in the delivery of that. So think about your product offering, and when you think about this, ask yourself how you're going to create expectations for customers. Subscription businesses live and die on something called churn, and we kind of mentioned earlier that there are some stress points, and that's during that life cycle, and that's what I was talking about was churn. And churn is cancellations. So if you have 100 customers and the next month 10% or 10 of them cancel, we would say that you have 10% churn or you have 90% retention. Churn is the attrition rate. It's the leaky hole in your water bucket. And churn really relies on first impressions and expectations by customers. And so ask yourself when thinking about your product offering, so what's going to be the cost for customers? What's the value proposition? What's that unique selling point? So think about savings, discovery, ease of replenishment, or something like that. How many items are you going to be putting in the box? You can always do a range. I say 6 to 8 for my own subscription business, but maybe yours is 4 always. It's always 4 bars of soap, or maybe it's 3 to 5 products of an approximate $50 value. So you think about approximate monthly value, and then what kind of types of products can they expect? Is it going to be a skin? Is it all skincare? Is it hair care? Is it nail care? Is it a combination of all those things? Is it for your feet? Which that actually sounds really lovely to have like a pampering foot subscription of like foot detoxes and like foot scrubs and like just I wonder what you could call that. Uh, okay, I don't know how I got on that idea, but basically, think about some different product offerings, and once you choose an idea, play with it a little bit. Put some of those ideas on paper. Maybe write some different things out and write up a sales pitch. Write up a pitch for a service for your products. Like, how would you pitch the service that's going to be full of your products? So once you think about your product offering, the next step would be let me go here to actually thinking about your box. So you're probably mailing in maybe like a USPS flat rate mailer right now, or maybe maybe you do have these custom boxes that you do a stamp on or something like that. But think about the box experience and how that relates to a subscription box experience. So I always say get custom boxes. I tell this to all the subscription box owners I work with. I think it adds a lot to the experience. I think it helps with churn. Um, and I think it helps build an experience around the products inside to get a custom printed box. And so when I say custom printed box, I mean like, like one of these things right here. So that bottom right one, that orange one, Prosperly, that cost me about $1,300 to get that box printed. I had them split it up into different payments, so I didn't have to pay them $1,300 right away. But I used a fulfillment company. It printed this box for me, and it was I was able to create a really unique kind of product experience around this like natural bright colored thing. It gets people excited when they see it in their mailbox. Um, you know, I include a bunch of call to actions in my box. I say join us on Instagram, post photos of your box. Um, you can do these cool things with us on YouTube. I have some CTAs on there. I think it adds a really professional feel too. Some boxes that don't have custom box, I feel like it just feels like someone's putting something in a shipping box and then sending it to you. Um, and I think that is one of the biggest kind of downfalls of one of the biggest mistakes with subscription boxes is the people who just put it in a blank box. I mean, you want people to feel like you're a professional curator or you're a professional product creator, and a big way to do that is with your packaging, obviously. So also, another benefit is it creates a new asset for your business. I mean, you can use these in your normal shipments. If you do a big batch order of maybe 2,000 custom boxes, you reserve 1,000 for the next 4 months of your subscription box, and then you reserve 1,000 for your shipments of your normal store, maybe your Etsy store or your regular store or your Amazon fulfillment or whatever. You can now use this asset in the rest of your business, which I think is really cool too. And think about it like this too: if you have this existing stream of revenue, and you are sending out products in boxes all the time, chances are you're probably including like a business card or something like that in there to inspire people to come back and purchase again with a custom box. I mean, talk about an awesome place to put a CTA. I mean, you can make a really nice box, and for all of your one-time sales, you can be sending people your subscription box, and you can even have a call to action there that says join our club or whatever it is. And I think people will like look and be like, holy crap! Like I don't usually get stuff as nice as this through Etsy in a shipping box, at least. Like most of the time the shipping boxes are standard. Like you can really pique someone's interest like that. And then also, like I mentioned here too, I think it really does improve the retention of the customer in a subscription scenario. So boxes are important. So start thinking about the box and in terms of the size and the products you'll be putting in it, and kind of how it would look. Step number 4 is start getting an audience together. The right way to launch this business, regardless of what type of handmade products you're making right now, the right way to launch this business is doing it with hundreds of customers. That sounds great, but how do you actually do that? What I normally encourage people to do is to do a pre-launch. If you want to learn more about a pre-launch, head over to Subscription School, and you can see it would be under the customer acquisition and marketing section. There's a guide called Setting Up a Pre-Launch for Your Subscription Business. This really goes into detail. I use my own business as an example of how to create a pre-launch page where it's basically a uh, it's just a static page that collects emails. I suggest people get 2,000 or more emails on these pages. Obviously, you're in a little bit different of a situation. I mean, you've got an existing business, and so it might be easier. But what you should do is get a hold of your existing customer list. So anybody that's ever bought a product for you, get a hold of your existing email list from your blog or your online store if you've been capturing emails on there. Um, uh, start to compile a kind of a Rolodex or CRM of existing connections you have with bloggers and product reviewers and, maybe friends or connections you have in this space. And when you're thinking about uh, using a pre-launch page or trying to kind of incentivize signups through some type of lead capture, make sure you've got some cool existing products to use on those pages, and make sure you're using some type of cool incentive. So when I say incentive, I mean like, if you set up a pre-launch page for your handmade product, and it's got kind of here, Jesse's Handmade, and it's a nice picture of a couple products in the background. Maybe in the incentive area on the bottom when they put in their email address, you say join a day to enter to win a free detox foot bath. And so it's like you can use your products as a form of incentive, and you can give away maybe 2 or 3 products at the time of your launch to different pre-subscribers is what I call them, and that can be a really good way to up the conversion rate on these pages and incentivize people to give you their email addresses. But basically here with this step, the idea is get yourself an audience together. Like I want you to get a list of 2,000 emails, and so when you actually launch your subscription business in 60 days or whatever it might be, you can email 2,000 people and you can get a couple hundred subscribers. Generally, I see I see a conversion of about 10% with pre-launch campaigns. So what that means is about 10% of the people who gave you their email are going to convert and become your subscription customer, your subscriber. And so if you get 2,000, you should be able to expect about 200 subscriptions to your business, which is what you want to get. Because with those 200 subscriptions, I mean, bam, think about it. I mean, you're doing a lot more orders each month. And you've got a really good opportunity to make a really solid handle of recurring revenue. So get an audience together. If you want some more information about how to set up opt-ins or how to set up different ways to kind of do lead capture and get early customers, definitely go to the webinar section and check out this this webinar we're having a week from today, how to get your first 25 subscribers, and also the week after that on the 17th, how to launch your subscription business. I really go into detail about how to get early subscribers, and also how to actually do a pre-launch. The pre-launch webinar is the one on the 17th, which is really about how to launch a subscription business in general. It's not really focused on handmade products necessarily, but the learnings that we can do from that are very much applicable to you guys. So if you want some more information on how to actually build these lists, feel free to join these other webinars. If you want an example of a pre-launch page, here's another good one. It's Yogi Surprise. I have a good friend and colleague who runs this business. It's kind of a yoga retreat in a box. So he sends like different natural products and maybe a chocolate and some jewelry and an incense stick or something like that. But it's this whole the whole thing here on this page is you can tell here it doesn't have to be crazy. It's not a crazy design. It's a picture, a logo, and one sentence. But this is a good way to run a pre-launch campaign, is where you've kind of got your brand logo there. You got a good description of what's coming in the box, a reason why people should sign up, a call to action, get invited, and then that incentive, win a lifetime subscription or win this free product. Let's switch here. Okay, so I like to throw this in all my webinars. So if you're really interested in this, just do it. This was the Shia LaBeouf meme making its way around the internet, and for some reason I always thought it was really funny. But so if you're interested in this, I mean, your means for succeeding in this industry right now are better than they've ever been. Using technology like Cratejoy, or using the tools that we have at Subscription School, which are all free. I mean, now is the best time to start it. And like I said, I think this niche of handmade products is very underserved in subscription commerce. And there's only been about 20 people here in this webinar, 30 people in the webinar. So there's not many people, I feel like, who have really realized the opportunity here. And if you think there is opportunity here, and I personally think there is, and I've been doing this for 7 years with other businesses, I wish I made handmade products, because I think it's a great idea. That's why I have the subscription I have, is because I really believe that handmade products are a great niche, and people want them all the time. So just do it. If you want an assignment, if you want something to go just do, here's an assignment for you. It's March 3rd. On March 10th, maybe have a product offering decided. So what's your subscription product? Is it what kind of niche is it fulfilling? Is it bath and body products? Is it just skincare? Is it just hair care? Is it just nail care? Is it just jewelry? Is it just there's so many different handmade products that you can make. Is it artistic prints? What's your product offering? Get a box or some type of mailer in hand. So look at what your products look like inside that box, and get a sense of maybe take a picture of it on your phone and kind of look at it. You know what I mean? And then find out everything you know about your current customer list. So you should have chosen the products to be included. You should maybe purchase a cardboard box, maybe $2, some packing material, maybe $2, $3, $4, $5, and then have a list of all of your emails that you can load into something like MailChimp. MailChimp is a mail service provider. You send emails through them to people. Let's say you do email marketing, but basically get a list of emails to load into something like that. With this, you can investigate some next steps at subscriptionschool.com. So come back to Subscription School, sign up for these other webinars, or read some of these other guides. And then you can start to learn some other assignments that you can do to start taking your business to the next level. Um, so for now, I'm gonna jump in the Q&A. Thanks again for asking these questions. If you guys haven't asked questions yet, feel free to. It looks like we got a lot of really good questions. So if you haven't asked a question, I definitely encourage you to just stick around and listen. And I'll jump into this right now. It looks like we've got a decent number of them. So the first one is I run a Handmade subscription box and sent to my subscription addiction with a great coupon. I ended up getting a bunch of subscribers that I call subscription box bleeps who just used the awesome coupon and then canceled. How can I avoid that from happening? Dang, Heather, that stinks. My subscription addiction is a unique case with subscription commerce. I mean, I feel like um, I do feel like they're a little bit more finicky of customers in the sense that they're not the stickiest customers that we could find. I mean, I've used lots of other types besides my subscription addiction. What I would suggest doing is maybe finding um, some more focused uh, subscription box reviewers. I think that my subscription addiction brings a large appeal from a lot of different categories. I mean, if we go to their website, I mean, we can just take a look here. Subscription box reviews. It's uh, then just the sheer number of categories she covers. It's everything. It's beauty boxes, it's gaming boxes, it's kids boxes, it's adult boxes, it's nerd boxes, it's fishing boxes, it's food boxes. So you could have just got a couple customers who didn't really know what they were subscribing to, and they just might not have been the most qualified customers. So the only way you can really prevent that from happening is making sure that you're doing as getting as targeted as you can with the reviewers you work with, and kind of where you're placing those reviews. Okay, so let me go back to this here. Looks like my GoToWebinar thing here is it's freezing up again. Hopefully the audio wasn't messed up for that answer for you, Heather. So let me see. I'm trying to load up these questions here. Hold tight with me. Looks like we're just a little bit of lag associated with it. Let me see if I can kind of optimize if that has anything to do with it. Okay, so someone here mentioned I sell Etsy on her website and on Amazon. That's awesome to hear. I mean, that's a lot of different channels. So I feel like what I would do there then Gina is definitely see how much data you can collect from each one of those things. Like it'd be awesome if you could export all your customer information on Etsy. I don't know if you guys can do that. If any of you have some insight on that, can you throw it in the question section? Can you guys export I wonder, like, anybody who's ever made a purchase at your store, can you export that person's contact information so you can email them or something like that? I'm not really sure if Etsy lets you do that. Okay, so let's move on to this next question here. Okay, looks like someone said audio was fine. Okay, so someone here, so David asked, what's your opinion about starting a spice company, sort of like Flavor God as a subscription box business? I mean, like putting samples and recipes in the box and selling the full product at the web store. Yeah, David, that's an awesome idea. I mean, there's a I don't feel like it's just maybe there might not be a completely dedicated spice company. There's one business called Kitchen Table Passport, and I think they include a couple small ingredients. I think they do often include spices because that's kind of a small item that it's easy for them to put in a box like that. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, you could totally have a awesome subscription box built around spices. Maybe you include um, one other type of item, or a really nice recipe card. I think that whenever you do content in a subscription box and you feel like content is part of the product offering, the value proposition, I mean, I feel like you've got to do it very, very well. So if you do go forward with an idea like that, make sure that the product experience seems very cohesive. It feels very cool. I think it would be cool if I was getting a spice subscription. I would definitely get the spice subscription that has cool little glass spice jars, something that I can reuse and kind of cherish forever. And so it doesn't seem as ephemeral as just like a subscription box that I kind of use and then than throw away. But I like the idea. I think it could be successful, and I do think there are some subscription businesses that do something that's the same thing or similar. Um, so someone asked here, Heather asked, shipping costs are killing me. Do you have any tricks or tips to reduce shipping costs? Heather, I do. One of the perks about using Cratejoy, um, is you can use their shipping. You can use them for shipping. They do everything through cubic shipping. If you want to learn more about cubic shipping, um, check out this guide I wrote in the shipping and fulfillment section at Subscription School. These are the rates for cubic shipping. Cubic is determined by the amount of physical space that's inside of the box. So it's length times width times height, divided by 1728, and then you get the decimal point for the amount of cubic feet. So if you have small items, Heather, and you're shipping, and right now you're spending 10, 15, $20 for shipping because it's a heavy box. If you use cubic shipping, the weight doesn't matter. You can put 20 pounds, up to 20 pounds inside of a cubic box, and the cubic pricings are great too. So for the zone that's closest to you, so for the states that are closest to you, if you have a small box with a heavy item, you can spend as little as $4.50. And then even as far away as Alaska, you're still only spending about $2 more than that. So I think that cubic shipping is one of the best ways to get shipping prices down. Um, and if you haven't checked that out yet, try it. Cubic shipping usually to, excuse me, I can't speak right now. You usually need to get a shipping contract to get that. And using Cratejoy, they resell it. There are some other resellers that do offer that, but look around for cubic shipping. Gina asked about a custom box company. I can definitely recommend a few of them. Go to the resource sections of Subscription School, and under custom packaging, you can see five that I think are pretty good. I use Northwest Paper Box. I'm based out of Portland, Oregon, so I like to use local companies as often as possible. They're located here in Portland. They're great. They have awesome boxes. They're high quality boxes. They do a good job at fulfillment for me, so they actually pack the boxes for me too. And so I would suggest checking that out. Um, okay, let me hop back over here in the question panel. So where did I get my printed boxes from? Northwest Paper Box, the one I just mentioned there. I actually had them completely custom made too, so I had a custom size and everything like that made. So another question about custom boxes. So where would you go to get plates and dies? So you can go to any of these custom package companies, and they'll be able to give you some quotes on it. It totally depends on the box size and the inks that you use, but it's generally pretty close to maybe $1,000 to $1,500 one-time cost that usually they'll break out into multiple different payments. Um, so so someone asked here an interesting question. I'm glad you guys that you asked it, Milan. She said, handmade products are much lower in volume than mass-produced items. So how do I control or balance the demand with not so high supply? Um, so I think this is an interesting question because I think it's a question of your mindset and your psychology right here. So I guess my thought would be is this: you have a handmade subscription, or you have a handmade product, right, or a set of handmade products. Maybe you have a day job. Um, what I would ask you is, what is the magic number? If you could get a subscription box company that's using your handmade products, and all of a sudden you've got to do 400 orders a month, but you're making a margin of $10 per order, and you're making a $4,000 net profit margin each month. Um, like, is that enough for you to quit your job full time and and make that supply high? I feel like supply should never be the issue for you guys. Um, like if you've got to make 400 units, like I feel like that should be an easy decision, especially if you're making good money from it. I think the ultimate goal for anybody getting into the space is quit your job and be your own boss. And so if you think that your supply is limited by your ingredients or somehow limited by your time and you can't get away from that type of thing, um, Cratejoy does offer a sold out mode, so you can put your store in sold out mode. So it's really just about finding a balance with you and what works with you and your production. But, spending time optimizing an assembly line, spending time optimizing production, spending time optimizing your costs, and negotiating with vendors because you're going to be doing larger orders. I think that you should be able to solve the supply problem. I mean, it's really hard because I don't know what kind of type of product you're making, but I would say those are all the things that I would kind of consider when thinking about demand and supply. So the problem is I like to avoid having great following but not enough supply. So yeah, I think we just kind of win to that. I think, like I said, it really comes down to your schedule. I don't think that losing customers or losing people because they couldn't opt into your subscription is going to be too big of a deal. I think the exclusivity could even be beneficial. Um, in terms of creating a disappointing experience because you kind of hastily created all the products, I think that's a real thing to consider. I mean, I think one of the great things about all of you as crafters is really the fact that you guys make such great products. So you don't want to jeopardize your product quality, obviously. But like I said, I mean, what's the magic number? I mean, if you can get a pre-launch going, and you can get 3,000 email addresses, and you can confidently assume that you're going to get 300 subscribers. I feel like you should be able to tell yourself, this is the opportunity you have. Like this is a great place. I mean, you could very easily become your own boss very quickly. And so I would burn that midnight oil, and I would do maybe a month or two of testing, and get my friends and get my family to help, and do anything I can to make those great products equally great as they always should be. But I feel like your customers will be forgiving, and I feel like if you are passionate about your product, I feel like it's going to be great. And I feel like you should have confidence in yourself. Um, so we've got two more questions here. If you haven't asked a question yet, feel free to. There's probably something buzzing on your mind, um, and I would love to answer it for you. So Gina asked here. So you have to go through all your orders, but you can get their emails. Okay. So Gina, it sounds like if you're using Etsy, you can like go through your orders, but you have to like manually go and grab their emails. Is that right? So you can actually see their email addresses. Gina, is that? I think that's what you're saying here. Um, okay, cool. So yeah. Dang it! I wish they had a big export for you guys. That sounds like it seems like it should be a no-brainer for Etsy. But I mean, if you've done hundreds of orders, or if you've done even a couple dozen orders, going through that and collecting those emails and pulling it into your Mailchimp or pulling it into some mail service provider, I think is a great idea. Go through that. That's a huge thousands. Oh my gosh, Gina, that's crazy. So Gina's done thousands of orders. I would get an intern, and I would pay that intern $10 an hour, and I would have someone else do that for you, or post it on some type of like job site where you can get someone overseas to go mine all your data for you. But that is Gina, if you have thousands of people already in your orders, you have an awesome base of customers that you could probably get a couple hundred subscriptions out of month one. That's awesome. You have a huge asset there, and I think that you should definitely try to leverage that. Um, so Milan, we got one more question for you here too. Oh, we also got to thank you. You're very welcome for the thorough answers. I'm happy I can help. So she asked again. So what do you think about regifting subscription boxes? About a regifting subscription box. So you curate small individual gifts you can give to dinner party hosts, coffee meetings, thank yous, so that you never show up empty-handed. So it's for like a thoughtful, social kind of like um, it's almost like a little party in a box. It sounds like. I think that's a really interesting idea. Um, uh, as a subscription box, so you would sign up and you get these cool different gifts that you can then go take to do different things with. It's very unique. I don't think there's any boxes that do that. One box that does do something kind of similar to that is Prosperly is my business. So I don't do it specifically that in that way, but I try to curate the boxes around specific experiences. So I get you like 6 to 8 artisan handmade goods for breakfast and bed stuff. So it's jam, it's a tea, it's nice little note cards to write your friends. It's a bookmark for your book that you're reading in bed. So it's kind of curated around an experience. But I think that the idea you mentioned there, Milan, I think is a really cool idea. Like I said, I feel like if you can get a decent kind of pre-launch community together, and people excited about the idea, all you really need is a couple hundred people, right? And then all of a sudden your Etsy store is booming. So I think it's an awesome idea, and I think it's a good opportunity a good idea to explore. And if you do want some more, like maybe you want to test some of these ideas, or some of you have some ideas that you're thinking of, and you want to do some testing. On how to kind of to see if the idea is good and to see if people actually like it, definitely check out this pre-launch guide for the subscription business. It goes also through how to kind of create a launch rock page, where this is what this was. We can just collect emails. So if you don't want to convert your whole site, you know what I mean, you don't want to make the huge jump right away, maybe just throw up a launch rock page, and you put that launch rock in your Instagram URL and on your Facebook page, and you push some traffic to it, and then you can kind of see how people are converting to it. So if you do have a kind of an idea that you think would be, potentially really cool, this is a good way to lean test it. I think Launch Rock Pro costs like $5 a month, and you already have your domain probably, so it doesn't really cost you any money. But I think it's a definitely good idea to go ahead and do something like that. Um, okay, so it looks like, let me see, we got a couple more comments coming in here. Yeah, Gina, it's super exciting. I'm envious. You've got a huge asset. I think you should totally go for it. Thousands of orders, that's awesome. Um, so let me see. We got two more. Okay, cool. So it looks like we got the idea. Thank you, Milan. I'm glad you like Prosperly. I always love to hear that from people who make handmade goods, because you guys are my bread and butter. You're the people I love working with, and you're the people I love featuring. Honestly, if anybody here is make something that they think would be cool in a subscription box, but they maybe want to do a test run. I'm totally open to exploring it with my own business. If you do want to send me an email. My email is just jesse@prosperly.com or jesse@cratejoy.com. And, maybe I can feature you in my box one month, and you can kind of see how the experience goes. And we can do some cool call to actions to tell people about your up and coming subscription box or something like that. Since this niche is, like I said, it's totally what I'm really enthusiastic about. And I work with a lot of different small handmade companies right now, and I could kind of share some resources and share kind of like the flow of the monthly schedule, and kind of give you a good experience of making those 300 units for me or something like that. But otherwise, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them. We got about 2 minutes left. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for attending. If you guys are looking for more information, like I said, come to Subscription School. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, you can find me just at jesserichardson.com. When you do leave the webinar today, there'll be a short survey just about the webinar, the speed of the webinar. If you felt like you were given some action items, some given good advice, please go ahead and answer that. That's kind of how I get my feedback, and kind of how I kind of rate myself. So all your comments and all your thoughts are really useful. Besides this, if you're looking for a really cool story, check out start.cratejoy.com/blog. And there's this really interesting story that someone at Cratejoy just wrote about an Etsy seller who increased their business 13x in 1 year by building a subscription product. So if you're looking for um, a little bit more inspiration, this company, the Planner Addict Box, who just did stationery stuff on Etsy, launched a box around it and has done 13 times more revenue in the last year than they've done in the year before, just through their subscription business. Also, like I said too, if you guys are looking for more webinars to join, feel free to check out this webinar schedule. Probably on the 23rd, on February 23rd here, I'm going to re-host this webinar, Turn Your Handmade Products into Recurring Revenue. I'm going to do my best to kind of get a bigger audience here, but you're welcome to rejoin it. Like I said, all these webinars, all this information is totally free. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at either email address, jesse@prosperly.com or jesse@cratejoy.com. And I'm happy to answer your questions and check out your launch pages, and give you any advice I can to help you guys get down this road. Thank you guys again for attending. It looks like we're all good with questions here. Um, this webinar is recorded. It'll be up on Subscription School in the webinar section probably by Friday afternoon, so tomorrow afternoon or Monday morning, and you can rewatch it there. And if you've got any requests, feel free to leave them in the comment section on that webinar. Otherwise, thank you guys again. I'm super grateful you guys all showed up, and good luck with your businesses, and I can't wait to see them grow into something that's really cool. Have a great rest of your day, and good luck with your ideas. Thanks so much.